Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast where your talk and my talks are happening to this our talk. My name is Kirk Patrick Tikihano, and I will be your host for today's podcast series entitled Embracing the Heart of Literature. And I know that many of you really loves reading literatures like poems, novels, short stories, and various kinds of literature, especially those literature who leaves a more impact to our lives. And today we will be analyzing one of the 21st century literature or known to be as poem. So actually, I won't be analyzing the text alone. So I invited some of my friends or to be called as guest speakers to be with us for today. So allow me to introduce them one by one. Actually, they are ready at the side right now, okay? So for our first guest speaker, she is a youth advocate for the environment. And allow me to call on Madeline A. Ponce. Let's give her a round of applause. Hey! Alright. Next is, allow me to call on one of my friend and she is also an advocate for youth and environment. Allow me to call on Altricia Minyoza. Hey! So before we start on today's segment, allow us to really get or connect more on to our guest speaker today. So allow me to interview each one of them. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Alright. So for our first question, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Madeline Curie Ponce, and we're advocates for using literature in environmental issues because it creates a huge impact and emotional connections to the people so that they would care for our environment more.
Right, so actually, literature plays a vital role when it comes to spreading awareness to various issues like environmental issues, and that is what we are going to do today. So next is, let us ask Altricia Menyoza.
Hi everyone, I'm Altricia S. Minyaza. I'm also an advocate literature for environmental issues, which is similar to Madeline.
Alright, so they are both an advocate to environment preservity. And now since we are talking about literature, so what are you looking specifically on a specific literature? Or what are the factors that you want to cope up when it comes to reading a literature?
Well, we want to advocate the environmental issues that was for our literature that we picked. That literature warmed by Stults, which advocate and shows the impact of human actions towards the environment.
Right, so she gave us a sneak peek towards what literature we are going to discover or to analyze today. How about you, Madeline? What factors do you look forward on reading in reading a specific literature?
I think we should check the linguistic elements first because it has huge effects to our poem.
Right. So one of the key factors that we should consider in, understanding a literature, right, is the linguistic elements. Because in that linguistic element, it is where we determine the mood, the tone. Yes, the mood and the tone of the author who writes the literature in order for us to really deeply understand the poem itself. So the literature that we're going to be analyzing today is a poem written by Sylvia Stults. It is titled Warned. So just a quick sneak peek, this poem really depicts on how people really damage our ecosystem nowadays. It is a 21st century poem, right?
Yes.
I think, when was it released, Gani?
I think it was 2015 or something?
Yeah, it was 2015.
Yes, it was released in 2015. Yes, you're correct. Since this is a 21st century poem, this poem really revolves on the issue that is present in our environment today, particularly pollution, deforestation,
Yeah,
right?
climate change.
Climate change. Commonly climate change. And we can really see how this poem made an impact to our environment. So actually, I prepared some of my questions here today. So this question is this is the question. So I prepared for some of the question for me to ask them today. So for our first question, let me ask first this question. What linguistic elements can be found in the text or the poem titled Warned by Sylvia Stults?
I think one of the linguistic elements that can be found in the poem is tone. As there are deep meanings in the poem. So you really need to understand it further.
You know what the author wants to tell us in this poem, because through understanding its mood or tone, we can really showcase the poem can really showcase what the author wants to mean sa sa iyang mga readers or towards the people who is reading this literature. Next question. How about you, Altricia? Can you still emphasize more linguistic elements that can be found in the text?
More. I think you can see the mood in there because it shows the forbidding and uneasy emotional environmental issues that we can see in the poem itself.
Right. Actually, the poem really plays a significant awareness towards environmental issues, particularly the pollution that is revolving around. You can see in the first stanza how the author really portrays pollution. So for our second question, how can we incorporate such element into the aspect of earth preservation?
Well, I guess we can see the metaphor in there because they use the words that describe. Comparing things that is comparing unlike things to the poem itself, and we can also see the personification itself because they portray the things that they can be described in the poem.
Right. So we can really see the personification, right? Is present in the poem because you know what? In order for that specific literature to captivate the mind of the readers, he or she should really know how to use some figures of speech in order for that literature to sound creatively and to expand, especially to expand the imagination of the readers itself, right? So how about you, Madeline?
Imagery, because like it evokes visualizations that engage readers emotionally.
Right. So, you know what? Imagery is where we describe a specific element. So, really, when we saw some imagery in a specific literature, we can really evoke the true meaning of what the author wants to mean. So, for our third question, actually, I prepared many questions. So, are you still nervous?
Really?
Yeah, somehow.
Somehow, really, somehow. All right. So, for our third question, how does this literature's central themes enable us to connect into the concept that we have learned in our earth science subject?
Well, the central theme that connects to the literature is the poem itself, which tackles about the natural environmental issues and the impact of human actions that highlights the pollution, climate change, deforestation, which mentally affects us and physically to those living things.
All right, no. So we really have some subsystem that we really need to protect on. Sige, how about you, Malin? What is your answer to the question? The question is, how does this literature central theme enables and connect to earth science?
This subject is closely related. Like, in addition to her answer, of course, subsystems are involved, especially in the story. She highlights the environmental issues, like regarding the water, our air, and pollution, and especially climate change, because it is made because of us humans as well.
Yes, indeed, the central theme of the poem revolves around how our action depicts the environmental issue that we have today. All right, so in this part, I will be now asking some follow-up question. So for our follow-up question, how does Sylvia Stults uses personification in her poem entitled Warned to highlight nature's reaction to human destruction? And what message does this convey about our relationship with the natural world?
Well, in the poem, it highlights itself the feeling and pain of the literature itself, that it highlights the environmental issues and impact of the human behavior, which really causes a pollution to our surroundings. And the meaning of the poem is to aware us and give us cautions that we should take action to our human behaviors and we should lessen the pollution.
Right. So really, this poem allows us to have a call for action. A call for action. Actually, what SDG is that? Climate action. I think it's around. Or it revolves to 10 SDG goal 10 plus, right? It's our call to action for climate change, our climate action that we really need to really seek on this issue more and really have an advanced criterion in order for us to address this climate change issue. How about you, Madeline?
The clear message is that humanity's connection with the nature is truly beneficial, and neglect, affects the environmental. Really, like the poem acts as a warning and plea for us to reconsider our actions and make some changes for our environment as well.
Right. So It's really an action that we need to portray as people, especially to you as an environmental advocate, especially to me as a citizen. We really need to advocate for climate change. So we can really say that our action really impacts the climate change. And as an alternate solution, our action can save Mother Earth. Right?
One planet.
Yes, you only have one planet. That's right. We cannot live in other planet unless they can discover. But we have only one planet, and this planet is Mother Earth, and this Earth is what we need to be protecting. Right? Say it. For our next question. All right, last question. What SDGs that can be what SDGs can be integrated to the subject Earth science? Or what SDGs can you saw or can you see in this poem that can be related to Earth science?
I guess it's SDG 3 because quality education. Not only we talks about education, but we also spread awareness, which is also education. We have to educate the people that surrounds us that impact the human behavior to our environment.
Yeah, I think it's SDG 15, like life on land, because as it mentions, like the pollutions and the climate change. And I think there is one more SDG, like SDG 13, which is the climate action. Yeah, so I think it serves, I think the poem serves as a motivation for us to really make a change, especially for environment.
So really, no. So really, the poem served as a warning, as the title says, as a warning for all of us that our Earth needs our action. Our Earth needs us. I want you to share your takeaways when it comes to the literature that you have read.
Well, my takeaways is we should really take action right now, especially our in our the present time that our surrounding is very polluted and we cannot live with the pollution that surrounds us because it affects us too, especially the living things, animals, plants. It's slowly degrading and some of us are dying due to it, and we have to take action. And climate change, especially climate change, I forgot to mention that climate change really affects us. It causes a lot of floods and other disasters that we really don't want to appear. So we have to take action. That is my takeaways.
Yeah.
Right? How about you, Madeline?
The poem serves as a powerful reminder for us, our duty to care for our environment. Because as we've seen, like as you've mentioned, the climate change, yeah, it was all because of us. And just like what you said, we reap what we've sown. So, like if we'll fix this problem, a lot of people nationwide are like fixing this problem as well. So if we work together, I believe that we can like take care of the environment more and improve.
Right. So really, no, we can really see how our guest speaker expanded the thought of the literature itself. And thank you again for being part of our podcast. Thank you. It is really an opportunity to have you guys in this podcast. Do you want to leave a message to our viewers today?
Thanks for the opportunity that to have us in this podcast. We were able to advocate to you the our behavior as human that affects the environment. So we
Yes.
really need to take action.
Yeah.
Right. So how about you, Madeline? What can you say to the youth nowadays towards earth preservation?
So the only thing that I could say is be more responsible and like do clay go as well. Yeah, we've been practicing that. So I hope our podcast today motivates you more into doing good actions towards our environment.
Really, literature plays a vital role towards spreading awareness for every one of us. Without literature, we won't be aware that these issues is really revolving on around our society. Without reading this poem warned by Sylvia Stults, we won't be aware on the status or we won't be aware on how our environment looks like nowadays through just a word by word sentences. Alright, so we have reached the end part of our podcast. Once again, thank you for viewing our podcast today. Thank you for our guest speakers who is with us today. Once again, my name is Kirkpatrick Tikihano.
For your talk
And my talk.
Are happening at this Art Talk. See you! Bye!